Hello, IC community. We are Massimo and Luca, and this is the demo of IC Site Services. First of all, what's the problem that we're trying to solve? Today, DAOs can only control services that are hosted on-chain. However, most Web3 services rely on off-chain infrastructure, and therefore DAOs cannot fully govern most of Web3 services. Our solution is a DAO canister or a canister controlled by a DAO, which orchestrates a decentralized compute marketplace. And in our case, we chose the Akash network. And the canister that does so is called orchestrator. This is used by SNS canisters, for instance, to deploy the off-chain services that they depend upon to the decentralized compute marketplace, which at the end is a bunch of node providers that can run arbitrary Docker images. What our orchestrator canister does is basically interacting with the Akash network. And it does so thanks to the threshold CDSA feature of the internet computer and also the HTTP outcalls. So the orchestrator canister owns a private key, which basically controls an Akash address, and uses threshold CDSA to sign transactions that are then sent to the Akash network using HTTP outcalls. And these transactions are basically the deployments and the informations that the Akash node providers use in order to understand what kind of service they need to deploy. Today, the Akash orchestrator canister is not an SNS DAO, but we plan to do so in the future. Let's see at a really high level how it works. So the initial situation is there is a DAO that needs to host an off-chain service. It can, right now, it's usually the development team or the core development team that hosts this service on AWS and takes care of paying the bills every month. But this means that the DAO depends on the development team to keep paying the bills. And also there is no transparency over what kind of service the development team is actually running because they control it. With the IC Akash integration, DAO can directly pay for hosting its off-chain services on the Akash network, and this is thanks to our orchestrator canister. So what happens is the DAO pays ICPs to the orchestrator canisters and specifies a Docker image that it would like to deploy. The orchestrator canister converts the ICPs into the Akash tokens and use these to pay the Akash node provider that will deploy the Docker image. And after these steps, there is basically a node provider that is part of the Akash network that is running the off-chain service that the DAO needs in order to operate. Now Luca is going to show you a demo of what this looks like in practice.
In order to interact with our orchestrator canister, in this first version, we offer this dashboard, which gives you a simple UI that enables you to call the endpoints of the orchestrator canisters without caring about formatting all the requests. So we can create a new deployment by going on this form. And in this case, we are gonna create a deployment for an IC WebSocket gateway, which we can run on the Akash network as our off-chain infrastructure. So we specify a deployment name, we specify the Docker image that we would like to run on the Akash network. And then we can also specify the tier that we want to choose for this gateway. And in this case, the small tier is enough for our needs. Then we can already see that we have a price estimation in ICPs about what will be the cost of this deployment. And as you can also see, this is changing over time in order to cover the price fluctuations that happen during the deployment. So we can also specify more options in our deployment, and one of them is the custom command that you would give to your Docker image. And one of the important specifications that we need to, the important parameters that we need to specify are the port mappings. And the port mappings are needed in order to tell Akash what are the ports that this Docker image wants to expose to the public internet. And we can also associate a custom domain that Akash will use to redirect our request, the request to the Docker image. Then we will see how we can associate this domain to the Akash provider IP address. So then we can deploy the service, and this deployment will do some checks in the background, and if it's needed, it will send this amount of ICPs from the balance that we have on this account ID or on the dashboard, and then it will start the actual deployment by interacting with the orchestrator canister, and the orchestrator canister will interact with Akash in the meantime. So this takes a while, so see you when it has been completed. So our deployment has been created and it's active now, as we can see from the list of the deployments that we have on this account. And since it's active, it means that the Akash network is already running our IC WebSocket gateway image, and we just need to associate our custom domain to that image in order to that deployment in order to use the WebSocket gateway. And in order to do so, we can fetch the status from the Akash network, and this gives us some details. One of them is this address, this subdomain, which is the subdomain that the Akash provider assigns to our deployment. And we need to know the IP address of that subdomain. So we simply ping that subdomain and we get the IP address from here. With this IP address, we can go on our DNS dashboard or DNS provider and associate this Akash gateway 2.icws.io to this IP address that we just obtained. Once you have configured your DNS settings with the mapping between your custom domain and the IP address of the Akash provider, so you can go to the IC WebSocket demo that we created a while ago, and instead of using one of the default gateways here, you can just paste your gateway address in the address bar. So in this case, this one with this domain, and hit enter, and the gateway, the demo will start connecting to that gateway. And as you can see, now we have this client that is connected via WebSocket to our demo canister, and it's using the gateway from deployed on the Akash network. And this is what a developer would do to deploy their Docker images on the Akash network using IC site services. A DAO could, instead of using this interface, could directly interact with our orchestrator canister by executing inter-canister calls from their canisters.
So this concludes our demo. Thanks a lot and see you next time.